So June is now becoming one of the biggest months in gaming, especially for us Xbox fans, as not only is the Xbox Showcase coming soon, but usually the game releases can be pretty big, including whatever new announcements we get. With that, we have some amazing games coming to Xbox and Game Pass this June, and we start this off with Destiny 2's much awaited expansion, The Final Shape. And this is coming to put an end to the Light and Darkness saga that's been building for over 10 years now. But that's not all. The Final Shape brings a ton of epic customizations, challenging enemies, and an exciting new raid to the table as well. What's more is that it also introduces a new subclass called Prismatic that lets you combine abilities from other subclasses to create a super subclass. It also introduces a new enemy race that combines packed with 5 new and super challenging fights, each with their own unique skill sets and abilities. We're also getting used on a brand new raid to keep the community engaged in the endgame. The Final Shape sounds really promising, and us fans, including myself, can't wait to get our hands on this. Luckily though, we're not going to have to wait too long, as The Final Shape is set to drop on Xbox Series X and Xbox One on June 4th. Now, a game that I'm really hyped for is the game Blood. Guys, first off, this animated hand-drawn art style is gorgeous, and it really makes the game come to life. Now, what's fascinating about Blood is that this is an action RPG dungeon crawler where you play as a girl named Becky Brewster, the newest kid in town, but all of a sudden you find yourself having to rescue the world from an impending vampire apocalypse that has landed, and then there's these demonic forces that are now infesting every part of your town. Set up with your trusty hockey stick and a multitude of range attacks, you must now of course save this town and the world by kicking some vampire butt. And the gameplay impressions is it's really fast paced and it looks really fun. There is a mixture of puzzles, and like I mentioned, there's dungeon crawling, and it has you slaying some of these baddies left and right. Meanwhile, the boss battles look really epic as well. This is one of the more exciting games coming this month as it lands this June 18th. Now, Rolling Hills is an adorable life sim where you play as a robot chef and you're running your own restaurant in a cozy little village. The game features gorgeous, stylized visuals, adorable characters, and a wholesome atmosphere that makes it incredibly charming. Now, as a chef, your main task is to whip up new recipes for delicious sushi and keep your customers satisfied. But it's not just about cooking. You also get to chat with the locals over coffee, and you make new friends and you build relationships. And hanging out with them lets you learn about their stories and their everyday lives, which makes the game all the more wholesome and I'd have to say a little bit fun too. So if you want to take a break from the hustle and bustle of your everyday life and you want something a little more casual, Rolling Hills is a great option. The cool thing too is this one's coming directly on Game Pass on June 4th. Now, if you enjoy the game Dead by Daylight, there's a good chance you're going to have a blast with Killer Klowns from Outer Space. This is an upcoming asymmetrical horror game that's based on the cult classic horror movie from the 80s with the same name. And in this game, you get to choose from 2 different teams. Either you play as 3 killer clowns and you have to work together to hunt these humans with the crazy arsenal of weapons that you have as you invade their city, or you actually play a team of 7 humans and you fight back using whatever resources, weapons, and items that you can get your hands on. You end up having to stick together as you're trying to survive this evil alien invasion, and you try to find the best way out of town. Killer Clown arrives on Xbox and Xbox One on June 4th. Now, if you're looking for some real horror adventure, you should wait for Firework. It's a 2D puzzle horror game that puts you in the shoes of a police officer who reinvestigates an old case of a massacre after an accidental fire broke out. And as you start exploring, weird things kind of start to happen all around you, and it's up to you to figure out what's actually going on. Firework's all about solving puzzles and exploring this super creepy Chinese village, and you'll be talking to the locals and you'll be gathering clues and piece together the story as you explore old Chinese traditions and folklore. The game's already received tons of overwhelmingly positive reviews from players on PC who love the game's spooky atmosphere, amazing storytelling, and memorable characters. Firework arrives on Game Pass on June 4th. So Downward Enhanced is a super cool game that mixes parkour, exploration, and a post-apocalyptic setting all into one epic adventure. Now, in this game, you play as a brave adventurer who decides to explore a world that's been totally wrecked by some kind of apocalypse, and you're tasked to find out what actually caused it by exploring the world as you zip, run, jump, and climb your way through challenging obstacles. Now, Downward Enhanced has actually already gained a sizable following on PC, with a lot of the fans admiring the game for its epic parkour. It's really fast paced and it lets you pull some crazy moves on the fly, and it looks absolutely amazing with the gorgeous visuals, the detailed environments. It just makes everything really pop. So if you guys are into parkour adventure games with a good mystery, you're going to want to give this one a shot when it lands on Xbox Series X and S on June 4th. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to become a president of a country? Well, Democracy 4 is going to give you that chance to experience that and even more. It's an awesome political sim that lets you assume the role of the president, and you're tasked to run a great democratic country. You handle everything in this game. You get to choose what laws get to pass, what policies to implement, how to handle big issues like healthcare, education, the environment, annual budgets, and even handle natural disasters. And the game creates a realistic simulation of a world using a smart system to simulate thousands of virtual citizens with their own opinions, beliefs, and personalities. And in this game, it really matters what the public thinks, because you also need to make sure you become popular enough to be re-elected. Democracy 4 has already received tons of positive reviews from players on PC, and it's about time we get to experience this amazing sim on Xbox Series X and S on June 5th. So it looks like the next entry in the long-running cycling franchise that's making its way to Xbox in Tour de France 2024, but this time it takes the series to a whole different direction with a host of new features and content, and the most important one being the Criterium multiplayer mode, which lets you race against players from all around the world. And you can take part in online races with up to 6 players and create a team of 2 riders from over 900 professional cyclists that are available. The game also introduces 10 new Pro Tour teams and over 300 additional riders as you race along the official Tour de France 2024 route. This one does arrive on Xbox Series X and S on June 6th. Now, if you're looking for a game to spend some fun time with your family, especially the kids, the Smurfs Village Party might be that game. It's an upcoming family-friendly party game that lets you play over 50 mini games with up to 4 players, and these games are divided into 6 different types, each testing different skill sets including reflexes, luck, memory, accuracy, battle, and even sports competitiveness. There's even a full-fledged story mode that lets you venture through the enchanting Smurf Village, exploring 10 different regions from enchanted forests to snowy mountains, and it looks like a fun party game that promises to keep you really hooked for a ton of hours. If you're a fan of Smurfs or a parent who wants to spend some quality time with their kids and you're looking for a nice kid-friendly game, this one will be arriving on Xbox Series X and S on June 6th. Shin Megami Tensei 5 comes back with brand new stories, and yes, that's right, stories. Right from the moment that you step into this game, you are asked to choose from 2 different routes. One that lets you experience the original Shin Megami Tensei 5 story. The second one, Canon of Vengeance, takes you on a different adventure with a completely different ending. For those who are new to this game, Shin Megami Tensei 5 is a super popular JRPG that puts you in the shoes of a high schooler who ends up getting caught in a war between angels and demons. Set in a fictional war-ravaged city of Tokyo, the game features turn-based combat, gore-filled executions, and a ton of stunning power moves. The good thing is, guys, you're not alone as well. You can recruit a ton of demons to help you defeat the celestial enemies. This one arrives on Xbox Series X and Xbox One on June 14th. Now, Still Wakes the Deep is another great game that I've been following for some time. It's a first-person horror game where you play as one unlucky worker who got stuck on an oil rig amongst a brutal storm, and the comms are down, and the rig is crumbling, and the storm is getting angrier, and you gotta figure out a way to stay alive for as long as you can while help does arrive. It's not like other survival horror games where you are constantly being hunted by monsters or zombies. It doesn't even have combat. Instead, the game uses environmental dread to create a sense of tension that forces you to be cautious, as your next move could end up you drowning in the dark, deep ocean. Still Wakes the Deep heavily relies on resource gathering, solving puzzles, and finding safe places to stay alive. I think this will be a good one when it drops on Xbox on June 18th. Now, if you're an old school gamer like me, there's a good chance you still crave those retro games from like the Atari days, and I'm not that old, but I still used to play them when I was a little bit younger. The good news is NeoSprint is an upcoming game that brings the classic arcade racing action from the Atari Sprint series, but it comes with a modern twist. It's a fast-paced top-down racer that lets you compete against 7 other racers on a single screen track in a campaign mode, and as you win, you face more challenging racers through incredibly complex tracks and harder obstacles. Then there's the Grand Prix mode, where you get to create your own tracks for more thrilling races, or pick one from the tracks that other community members have created. And if that wasn't enough, you can even dive into obstacle courses and time trials to really keep the racing excitement going. If you guys love retro arcade games, you should definitely keep an eye on this one as it arrives on Xbox on June 27th. Now, for the Elder Scrolls fans online, the newest expansion, Gold Road, is set to come this June. A new Daedric prince is now in Tamriel, and you'll be embarking on an adventure to preserve reality before the threads of fate are unraveled. And in this expansion, it's bringing a whole new story to follow, an entire new zone to explore, a new system with scribing that lets you collect these skills, and then there's a new 12-player raid called Lucent Citadel. So there's a lot to sink your teeth into. Now, the PC is going to get an early release on this on June 3rd, and for us on Xbox, we'll get to see it on June 18th. So Elden Ring's highly anticipated expansion Shadow of Erdtree also makes its way onto Xbox this June, and we've been waiting for this expansion since the awesome trailer dropped earlier this year. And to add to the excitement, let me tell you what this expansion is going to offer. Shadow of Erdtree takes you to a whole new world, the Land of Shadow, a massive island filled with open areas, dark dungeons, and breathtaking landscapes. And this time around, the whole narrative of Shadow of the Erdtree centers around Michaela. This is the son of Marika, who didn't get much spotlight in the first game, and while it hasn't been confirmed yet, we might see Mesmer, aka the Tyranny of Mesmer, as the new boss as we face in the Land of Shadow. So there's a ton of new twists to be expected, and this new expansion does arrive on Xbox Series X and S on June 21st. And with that, guys, there is 30 crazy good new exclusives coming to Xbox and Xbox Game Pass this year and beyond that you guys don't want to miss, so check out that video on the screen.